Welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Today I have the opportunity to talk with Bill Bice from Boomtime Marketing, and he shares some great wisdom about marketing and about state of affairs and where we're at, as well as how to add value to your businesses. You know, I just want to encourage everybody that's listening. We are in the beginning stages or days of the coronavirus outbreak and being stuck to our homes. But let's be optimistic. Let's be positive in what value we can bring in our confined spaces. If this is an opportunity for you to get to know your family a little bit better, maybe your friends a little bit better, reach out a little bit more. Be sympathetic to those people that have had and are suffering through this. I know the restaurant industry has been hit really hard. Let's be sympathetic to them and, encourage others and bring value. So I wish you the best during these times. I hope you find this message to be encouraging, and maybe there's some value for you listening to the show. And we're bringing it to you now. So please enjoy this interview with Bill Bice. Hello and welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast. I want to thank you for tuning in. I know everybody's probably on lockdown. Perfect time to listen to podcasts, positive messages, and inspiring stories, and maybe ways to educate yourself to be a little bit brighter and stronger when everything resumes back to normal. Today I've got a guest on. His name is Bill Bice. He's on the line right now. Bill, how are you today?
Jim, I'm doing good. It's good to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you. It's tough to talk about or not talk about what's going on in the world, and I know you're hunkered down and I'm hunkered down up here in Montana. You said you're down in New Mexico?
Yeah, I live in the mountains between Albuquerque and Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is it's a good, if you're going to be on lockdown, it's a good place to be.
Yeah, now is that, because I've driven through there a few times, is that kind of like a little artsy community up there?
It is. I'm on the back road between Albuquerque and Santa Fe. There's an amazing little town out here, a little further along the way called Madrid. That's an old mining town that's full of artists now, and Santa Fe, of course, is just an amazing mecca for artists and art.
Yeah, what a great place to be. Well, congratulations on where you're at and being hunkered down today in a beautiful spot. I would love to hear your story. When your bio was sent over me for the show, I only got as far as putting on road races with corporate sponsors at the age of 14. I was like, okay, this guy's got to be on my show because I'm a race fan. So maybe you could tell us your story and start there. That's a perfect place.
Yeah, so the way it happened is I was getting bored in high school, and there's a little strip mall right next to our school, and I would jump over the fence and land in the backyard of this little sporting goods store called Sun Sports. It was a family-owned business here in Albuquerque, and they let me buy computers and play with them. And what came out of that was creating this little company that put on marathons, and so we started the Duke City marathon, and we'd go out and get local companies to sponsor it and get runners to sign up and do all the logistics and time the races. And so it was the first piece of technology that I ever created, and having my Apple II and using a joystick to mark every time a runner came across the finish line, and tell you who won in the men's 50 to 54 year age bracket. And it was just a great way to get exposed to entrepreneurship and really how much fun and the challenges of running your own business. And I kind of never turned back after getting exposed to that.
Yeah. So at that age, you're in high school, you come up with this idea. Were you thinking of it as a business or more as a hobby that happened to turn into a business?
It was. I saw it as a business from day one, and we had a little bit of success selling the software we created to manage those road races to other people who were doing the same kind of thing, and then that turned into doing computer consulting work when I was, 16 and 17 for local businesses in town. This is right at the birth of the personal computer. And so people were buying these things and had no idea what to do with them. And so they'd actually pay some kid $50 an hour to make it do something useful. And I ended up writing software for various local businesses. And one of them was a law firm.
Yeah.
And at some point, it took me a long time to figure all this out on the business side, but it eventually came to the conclusion, I'd be better off because we had software for 5 different kinds of businesses, and we had to pick one and get focused. And I ended up choosing legal because the competition didn't seem that strong to me from a technical standpoint. And that's what turned into really my first real software company, which was called ProLaw. And we created what in any other market would be an ERP system. So the full platform to automate a law firm from, the billing all the way through the managing of cases.
Interesting. Now, if I understand correctly, you started that at age 18.
Yeah, and so I was literally walking into the corner office of the managing partner of a law firm and convincing him to buy the software that I had been writing the night before. And, we'd go out and do the data conversion and the training. And it was just, it was amazing on-the-job experience for learning how to build a company. My biggest mistake was that because I was 18, I already knew it all.
Of course.
And therefore, I wasn't open to advice and mentorship. And so it took me a lot longer to figure out how to build that company than it should have. But over time, I got a really great team that really helped me do that. And we ended up creating a really great company. We got in the Inc. 500 for 3 years in a row. And, 15 years later, we sold the company to Thomson Reuters, which, they've got a division that's kind of the 800-pound gorilla in the legal market called West.
Question for you as it relates to your sales call to these law firms, as you suggested, walked into the big corner office of one of the partners. Did the confidence come to you from knowing your software and your abilities, or were you, because you were 18 and you knew it all, you just felt like, hey, I can go in there and do that? Because I think, this is an important lesson. Also, it's an important way to give young listeners the confidence in what they're doing and not being intimidated by taking those big meetings and reaching out to those partners of different types of companies to get the sale.
Yeah, well, that was definitely the advantage of not understanding what I didn't know. I actually think it's one of the best times. I mean, if you happen to be in that circumstance and you don't have a mortgage, you don't have kids, it's the perfect time to go start a business because you can take all that risk. So I'm a big proponent of right after you graduate, the first thing you should do is join a startup or go create one and get that experience. And you should do it today too, but it is much easier to do it at that point. And you create a whole generation of entrepreneurs if we take that attitude.
Yeah, sure. So you sold the software to the company. You're probably just over 18. I mean, did you head off into college or go grab another job? What happened next?
Well, so I started it when I was 18, but it took 15 years to build that company.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
we sold it when I was 31, 32, something like that.
Okay, so you grinded for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it took a long time to get really good at that. And then, of course, I had built a company and sold it, and we had a great team that had done this together. And then my next mistake was thinking that therefore I knew exactly how to do this. And it turns out that when you turn around and go build another company, it's still really difficult, even if you've done it successfully before. So I try to do exactly the opposite now, which is, whatever it is you want to do, there's somebody else who's already done it, and reaching out to them and learning from them is, such a faster way of getting there yourself.
Yeah, and I think, we like to say we paid the dummy tax so other people don't have to in the consulting world. But I think that just in general, people are willing and able to help when asked for help. And I think oftentimes that's overlooked, picking up the phone and asking somebody for some advice or help.
Yeah, people love to be asked for help because by definition, it means that they have value to share. So is it going to work every single time? No. And are you going to get exactly the right person the first time? No. But if you just put a little bit of effort into it, I mean, I have found for just about anything, whether testing a new product or talking to people about the kind of business they build, by the time I get to the fifth person, I know that area so incredibly well because you have enough diverse perspectives that you really have a good understanding of what, whatever new area you're trying to tackle.
Mm-hmm. So what was the next on your career path or business path there?
Well, so the great thing about having built that company and had a successful exit with it is that I got to turn around and be part of starting and investing in a whole series of companies. So, and I sit down and counted it up just so I could actually say it, which, I've founded or been on the board or been the early investor in 27 companies now.
Wow.
And it was just amazing to be able to have that. It was very hard work, but that early success, which then gave me the opportunity to be involved in so many different kinds of companies and start to see the patterns of what really makes something successful or not.
How do you manage to get involved in at some point 27 different companies? Do you have a criteria or a data that you review before saying yes to people?
Well, my criteria has gotten a lot better. So one of the things I've learned is that the areas where I have experience are, this is so obvious that it's blinding, but areas where I have experience, I can add so much more value to a company. And the times that I have stretched and tried to go into a new area, sometimes that has worked, but it is so much harder. It's one of the things that you see happen to particularly really successful entrepreneurs that, they believe that they're experts at everything because they happen to be really good at one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I thought that too, and learned the hard way that it just absolutely is not the case. And so sticking to your knitting, learning from people who have already been there. And then I think one of the most underappreciated elements of success is timing. And there's a huge luck component involved in that.
Sure.
And so you just look at, compare the Palm Pilot versus the iPhone. They're essentially the same thing. The Palm Pilot went, it did get bought for pennies on the dollar, but essentially went bankrupt. And the iPhone has created the world's most valuable company. It was really just a matter of timing, of the technology and the idea catching up to that core capability. We think about some of the greatest entrepreneurs that we all talk about with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. And yet, if they weren't born when they were, if they didn't happen to both go to schools that had access to computers at a time period when that was extremely rare, they would have been successful at some level. But to have the tremendous success that they had, it took a huge amount of luck.
Sure.
So many companies are dependent on getting the timing right to be successful. So one of the, if the superpower you want as an entrepreneur is the perseverance to stay in the game long enough that the timing matches up and you're able to be successful.
Yeah, as you were talking, I was thinking about, I've raised money for a few companies more and more every day now that I have more consulting clients that are looking to raise money. But we use the term